A healthy tomorrow begins with a solid foundation at home, and there are simple ways to start your kids on a path to success. Eat dinner together. Add veggies to each meal. Save treats for special occasions. And be sure to get up and play an hour each day. Help your kids make all of their dreams come true. Be our guest to healthy living today at letsmove.gov.
Welcome to this edition of Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. Thanks for joining me today. My special guest from the Lancaster Campground, Kermit Welty. Glad you're coming.
Mike, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Kermit's the manager of the Lancaster Campground, and been, the last 2 years now?
I've been there 2 years, the end of this next month.
And we were talking a little bit off air. You were actually the AD at Tree of Life.
I
taught there.
I will confess to that.
Yeah,
yes. in enemy territory,
here.
I will
okay.
confess to that. Yes. Yes. Enjoyed my time at Tree of Life, and right at that time, there's a time when Fairfield Christian joined MoCal.
Right.
So.
And graduate of Cincinnati Bible Seminary?
I graduated from Cincinnati Bible Seminary with a master's in New Testament.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, a lot of people in Lancaster know about the campground, but just a little bit about it itself, how long it's been in existence, and we can talk a little bit about some of the programs, facilities later on, but just an overview of the campground itself.
Well, the Lancaster Campground was founded originally in 1872. It was up at Carroll, Ohio, and then relocated to Lancaster in 1848. So it's been ongoing, a camp meeting now for 135 consecutive years, that there's been a weekly Christian emphasis program taking place at the Lancaster Campground. Wow. So it was in 1878 at this location, and they started building buildings and cottages, little houses, but they call them cottages. Started building buildings at that time, so we have buildings on the campground that are 125 years old, 100 to 125 years old.
Now, how many residents or how many cottages do you have on the campground itself?
We have approximately 240 cottages. If you've heard the news, we've got 3 less today than yesterday.
Saw that unfortunate fire that happened.
Yes, very unfortunate. Good news is that no one was injured.
Great.
But we have approximately 240 cottages, approximately 150, 160 people reside in year-round, and then the rest of the cottages people use either as summer cottages or just maintain the family cottage just because it has a spiritual significance to the family.
I know that there's a lot of activities that go on out there. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but what drew you to this assignment?
Well, I've had an interesting background, been in the ministry for about 20 years. My skill gift set is probably a little more administrative, a little more with the business end of things. My wife and I had been at the church in Columbus a total of 20 years. We decided it was time to kind of look for something different, and Kathy is from Lancaster, and we've been out in the campground on numerous occasions, even considered purchasing a cottage on the campground. And about the time that we had decided to relocate from the church where this job opened, and I applied for it and was hired as the manager about 2 years ago right now.
Wow, that's when you first. I know your wife's from this area, but what drew you to it? What was it like? Boy, if I could get that, this is what I could do.
Well, I think one of the things that attracted me most, my initial commitment to Jesus Christ was at a camp. In a camp setting as a 11-year-old kid, and so I've always had a fond spot for campgrounds. I was expecting the Lancaster Campground to be more of a traditional church campground, but it's more of a residential entity today, and so that's been a big learning experience for me to deal with residents' problems, snow removal, water sewage issues, those types of things. So it's been a big learning experience for me.
I know I've been there a couple times. In fact, Fairfield Christian had like an activity day. A couple times we've been out there and done some things. I know there's basketball courts and tennis courts. I know we'll talk a little bit about Davis Auditorium down the road, but talk a little about some of the things that are there that people can do.
Okay. We have an RV park that accommodates up to 27 RVs, and we have that open from April through October, and we have residents that take advantage of that. We've had people from California, Texas that have resided during the summer. Some of them come for the religious week, or what we call Camp Meeting Week. That's an ongoing activity. We have, as you mentioned, tennis courts, volleyball courts, softball diamond. We also have a band camp that we host at the campground. We have 4 bands that traditionally come prior to football season. They rent the campground, and then they stay in the dormitory units that we have. And then we mark the field off just as if it were a football field. And they have uninterrupted time from 8 in the morning till 8 at night that they can then march. Bloom Carroll is coming next year for the first time, and they're coming as a day camp. They're going to be there from 8 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon, but we're accommodating them as a day camp.
Oh, that's neat.
That's one of the biggest activities that we have where we bring in outsiders, that and as they say, our camp meeting week.
What if somebody just wanted to rent it for maybe a birthday party, wedding, or reception? I don't know, something. How do they just contact you? Or?
Yes.
Website, phone number? All
Yes, we can give you all the bit of information. What we have is we have 2 what we call dorm units. They accommodate up to 32 people. They have 4 bedrooms each that sleep 8. They have a kitchenette area in them as well as both men and women's showers, and we have 2 of those units. People can rent those if they want an overnight church youth retreat. We've had school retreats down there, that type of thing. When I was a youth pastor, I brought my youth group to the Lancaster Campground on one occasion for an activity. And then we have what we call an activity building, and that's a large hall. And we've accommodated for weddings. We've hosted all kinds of parties. We've had business people do sales, garage sales, that type of thing out of the activity building. Both of those things are available to rent on a per hour basis. And you just contact the campground at area code 740-653-2119. And you can find out more information about the campground at www.lancastercampground.com, which is our webpage.
One of the, I know people talk about, well, there's a lot of history at the campground too, and one of the things was the Davis Auditorium.
Yes.
That has been there for some time.
Davis Auditorium is one of the things that many people that have had affiliation with the campground think of first. This structure is one of only 2 in the United States that have this specific railroad trestle structure. The other one is located in Vermont. This structure was built in 1895 at a cost of $5,000. That doesn't even pay the insurance on the building today, hardly. But it was built in 1895. It's a 120-foot square building with no beam structure in it at all other than the outside post. There's no post that obstruct a view from any place in the auditorium of the stage. The Davis Auditorium is in the process of being restored. We're doing various projects as money comes in, but it's hosted a number of key individuals. Billy Sunday, if you know,
sure,
the old fiery preacher. Billy Sunday has preached in there, and there's a special pulpit that's held in, that's still in our Seifert Museum. Billy Sunday was a very short individual, and they built a pulpit for him to preach from that was about yay high, so that it was eye level for him and able to see. And then, in addition, Paul Harvey, the newscaster, spoke out here. And then a couple of former presidents on occasion have spoken at the Davis Auditorium. So it has a strong community history. It's been a building that has been the center of the campground for many, many years. We have several other buildings that go back to the 19th century. I mentioned the Seifert Museum has all kinds of Bible-related and camp meeting-related items in it. We have a hotel. The Woodland Hotel is a very interesting building. It's the first building that you see after the activity building. It has a very quaint appearance to it. And it was originally built at the north side of the campground over by the railroad tracks. And because early on, the people that came to the camp meetings came via the train, so the hotel was over there. And then at one point in the 20s, it was relocated from the north side of the campground to the present south side of the campground. So there's a number of ancient buildings, I shouldn't say ancient, but old buildings that are very much a part of the religious history of the United Methodist Church here in Central Ohio.
Now, if somebody wanted to use it for a picnic, or anything, is there a charge for it?
There's charges for certain types of activities, and all that would be available at that 740-653-211 number, as well as the website address.
Again, the campground has been there a long time and means a lot to the community. What do you see, Kermit, as you come in and you think, boy, if we could do this or we could do that, or if we had the money to do this? I know Davis Auditorium is taking time right now, but what are some of the things that you looked at coming in on that first day and you thought,
Well, I've been on a couple of other campgrounds during my lifetime, and so there was a number of program ideas that have taken place. I think we'd like to develop a more self-contained unit in one sense that there might be a coffee shop and a place for the locals to gather, that type of thing. But I think one of the biggest things, the biggest challenge that I've been faced with is how do we bring the Lancaster Campground into the Lancaster community and Fairfield County as a whole. We have not, it's been such an isolated thing focusing on religious things. We haven't built a bridge to the community, and we need to do that as we go forward, maybe tie in more consistently with Fairfield County parks, historical parks, and that type of thing. Becoming a part of the community, I think, is one of the biggest challenges that I face.
And that'll take some time, but that'll come together. One of the events coming up, Christmas, is the 12th annual Christmas Walk.
Correct.
Talk a little bit about that.
It was started by a gentleman by the name of Jim Morgan in 2001. And it was designed originally as to do what I've just been talking about, where it's a community Christmas card to the city of Lancaster. We open up cottages, the historic cottages. Some of them are very quaintly decorated, obviously Christmas decorations, and people can just come. There's no charge for coming and going on the tour of the Christmas walk. We do have a people mover in case the half-mile loop is too big for some individuals, but a lot of people just like to walk.
Now, can people bring strollers, like baby strollers?
Yes,
like that?
yeah. They're just whatever they would walk like in the mall, that would be fine to bring something like that. And then we have 8 cottages that are open that you can go in and take a look, and you can see the structure in some of those cottages that were built in the early 19th or late 19th century, early 20th century. So as I say, it was started by a Jim Morgan. And just to be a Christmas card and invite the public to the campground, and it's been a very successful event.
With some of the residents, who's the longest resident there? Who's been there the longest? You know, have you met everybody? I guess.
I don't know that I've met everybody.
Okay.
One of the more famous local residents was a former pastor, Reverend Earl Bishop.
Okay.
And Earl Bishop has been affiliated with the campground since at least the 1960s. In addition to that, a lady by the name of Carol Brown has been there that long. She's the resident historian, and she's the lady that's in charge of the Christmas walk this year. And so those two individuals bring a wealth of knowledge and experience of the campground over the last 50 years.
Do you have a lot of people that come back every year for an event, or they come back just or drive through on vacation and say,
yes,
well, we used to come here?
Yes, and even as I go to some of the United Methodist churches and other churches, they're telling me, oh, I attended an activity at Davis Auditorium or in the temple or in the tabernacle. You know, they have those fond spots where it was kind of integral in their Christian development, and you know, we remember those times in our lives.
Right. When you're operating the camp, do you look at it from financial picture, or do you look at it from a biblical picture? Or?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Everybody that we deal with wants paid.
Yeah, okay.
So yes, we are one of the things that we as a long-range planning committee are working on right now is developing a financial stable plan for the future. But we are responsible for our own water system. We do purchase water from the city, but we had to put in our own water system. So we have a small village atmosphere at the campground, but it's a close-knit community. Just even with last night at the fire, there were just, when those cottages burned, there were people standing around, a number of people saying, Kermit, if that person needs a place to stay, have them come, we'll give them a place. And so there's that camaraderie that's very special as well for a small community.
We're talking with Kermit Welty. He's the manager of the Lancaster Campground out on 2151 West Fair Avenue. I know I've played basketball there. I've done a lot of different things there. What does Kermit like to do when he's not running the campground? I mean, does that take all your time?
I do a number of things. I teach part-time Bible for Ohio Christian University, primarily online.
And we talked a little bit about that. And online is not...
It's teaching, but it's not teaching. It's you're just kind of more correcting and guiding instead of teaching. So that's a challenge that for a person that enjoys talking and teaching, that's been a challenge. But I spend some time with Ohio Christian. My wife Kathy is in the process of preparing to be a substitute teacher here at Fairfield Christian. She's already been accepted, but just too busy to start right now, starting after the first of the year. And she takes up an appropriate amount of my time. 3 sons scattered about, and then 6 grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
And 3 in Texas and 3 in the D.C. area. So
that'll keep you busy.
That keeps us quite busy, and then I get up every morning and go for a good morning walk over on the bike path.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a great asset to our community.
It is.
The bike path is an absolute great asset.
Yes, it is.
To what we have. I know future plans we talked a little bit about. They're looking at the Davis Auditorium, putting some stuff into that. But can the campground expand at all? Is it landlocked? Can it move? I know the field behind it where they have the band camp and all that, but...
At this point, I pretty much consider that we are landlocked by Edie on the west, Fair on the south. The campground sold some property to First United Methodist Church, which they built Crossroads.
Right.
And then to the north, you've got an apartment complex, but you also have that wetlands area that's being developed to the north. And we're hoping that at some point we can kind of tie into the bike path that's out there and also to that wetlands area where they've got birds and that type of thing. It's a very beautiful park area that I believe Lancaster City Parks is developing. So at that present site, we're somewhat landlocked. I do have some vacant land. If somebody would like to lease some land to purchase or to build a cottage, we do have a few sites available, and there's always cottages that are available for sale. We probably have about 12 to 15 cottages that are for sale at any time during the course of a year.
Now, do you go around and meet with other campgrounds and talk about different things, or just what works for you and what doesn't?
Not at this point. The type of campground association that I'm familiar with all deal with the what you would call the weekly camps, the church camps, the basketball camps, those types of things. And we are a little bit different in terms of the residency camps. In the state of Ohio, there's Lakeside that is located up near Sandusky, Ohio. They're quite similar to what we are. They're also affiliated with the United Methodist Church. And then, so there's not as many of this type of campgrounds. There may be an association, but at this point, we have not been affiliated with that group.
So there's no water park going in. There's not.
Those are dreams. Those are dreams. Yes.
Is that something? I mean, do you often think about that?
Well, I don't know if you've been to like Easton or that type of thing, but where they have the water fountains and the walk through, that type of thing. Sure. We would like to make some green space where people are attracted to an area, where they, at this point we have the swimming pool and it's open to the public for a fee. It's available from Memorial Day through Labor Day, but the swimming pool, is kind of an expensive venture, lifeguards and upkeep and so forth. So we're looking at, in my mind, not necessarily, just long range, but adding, some type of green space that would just be an invitation for people just to come out. We have a number of residents from the neighboring condominium associations that come over and walk the campgrounds. We've got about a half-mile loop around the campground, plus a number of other streets, probably a total of 3.5 miles of paved streets.
Wow.
So it's very nice for walking and jogging for people that live close by.
I didn't realize that there was that much there that they could go through. I know when we talk about just in general the campground and how the staff itself, how many people actually work the campground?
At this point, the staff, we have 2 of us that are full-time, one in maintenance and myself. We have 2 receptionists that are part-time. One handles the secretarial work as well, and the other one kind of the business aspect of it. And then in addition to that, we have 2 additional part-time maintenance staff person. And then during the summer with swimming and that type of thing, we probably add as many as 4 to 6 seasonal employees.
When you were growing up, did you think this is what you were going to end up doing after teaching? And
Not necessarily. I didn't. I went through Taylor University as a physical education major and desired to go into cross country and track coaching. And I've spent a lot of time as part-time coaches in track and cross country. I've also coached volleyball, which.
I know somebody who does that.
I acquiesce to say that by far the better coach is seated across from me.
No.
But I've coached that, and then I've always enjoyed officiating.
Really?
I've enjoyed officiating, and have to confess that as athletic director of Tree of Life, on a couple of occasions I've had to call ball games when an official did not show up.
Now, do you volleyball, basketball?
I'm not a licensed official at this point.
But if you could, what would you do?
Oh, I'm a Hoosier. Basketball comes number 1, and I've done some volleyball. I enjoy soccer. Soccer. Rules come naturally to me for some reason. I don't know why, but and logic and expression of games and rules, they just make sense to me, and I enjoy that.
That is, and Indiana mentioning me. Indiana just had a great game just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, a little team called North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina came up, and Indiana played very, very well. Are you surprised at Indiana?
I am. I've suffered through the previous 10 years. I was a Bobby Knight fan for a long time, but then the last couple of years of his tenure, plus then a couple of other down years, we haven't had much to talk about until last year.
I think that's a surprise. So that may be a bigger surprise than even Notre Dame being number 1 in football. I don't think anybody expected Indiana to be as good as they are.
I did not, and I grew up 45 minutes from Notre Dame, so I watched a lot of Notre Dame football as a kid as well.
So you're on the top of the world almost.
Right. But I root for Ohio State now. I am a transplant. I do root for Ohio State, except in basketball.
Well, they just got beat by Duke the other night.
That was a good game at Cameron Arena.
Absolutely. Now, talking about football, Buckeyes ended up 12-0. I mean, what do you think? Should they get something for that, or they're number 4 in AP poll at last time I looked?
Well, as far as Ohio State is concerned, I'm disappointed like everybody on the bowl ban. The thing about college sports that is so troublesome is that Class A commits the crime and Class B, C, and D pay for it. And I don't know what's equitable in that. I understand the NCAA and OSHA, they're the avenues of punishment, but there's not a sense of justice there. In terms of Ohio State and 12-0, that was a surprising season to me as well. I expected a good turnaround under Coach Meyer, but I wouldn't have guessed 12-0. That was a pleasant surprise as well.
Yeah, he's done a lot of work there.
Yes.
We're talking about facilities at the campground. Ever think about putting an auditorium for the basketball in, gymnasium, indoor arena?
Not at this time. One of the things residents are our number 1 business. The people that live at the campground in their cottage, they're our number 1 business. I've hoped that at some point maybe we could do something, in terms of a recreational facility, so that there would be an activity place for the campgrounds where we could do some fitness classes and dance classes and those types of things that would be attractive not only to our residents but even to the community at large.
And we talked earlier about some of the facilities that are there, and because there are a lot of things to do. How many acres is it? I mean, not including the band out back, but how many acres are there?
We have about 56 total acres, which is a lot during the summer season when it's time to mow.
Yeah, but you have to mow, or is it somebody else? Okay.
No, we hire that out. That's the reason summer staff increases. I enjoy mowing, but we have about 56 acres, and that includes the RV park, the band field, the cottages, and then we have the area up front. And the area up front, the second weekend of September, we host a very large Civil War reenactment. We're in the second year of the 150th anniversary of the Civil War. And we will have a reenactment on Saturday and Sunday. I'm sorry, I don't have the dates off the top of my head with me.
Are all these on the website? Are they?
That will be on the website.
Okay.
It's not currently up, but it will be.
Okay.
But we've had reenactors for this first one this last year come in from Kentucky, West Virginia, and it will be a very large event. The thing that the reenactors like is the campground. Some of the buildings on the campground were probably built by Civil War veterans.
Sure. Yeah.
But if you look at the time frame from 1865 to 1872, 1878, it's very probable that some Civil War veterans actually did some of the construction there. So they like that aspect of it, that it actually looks a little like Civil War era construction. So that's a big event that'll be coming up in the fall as well.
That's interesting. Well, Kermit, we just have a few minutes left, and I do appreciate you coming in and talking about the Lancaster Campground, especially with the fire that just recently happened, and everybody's okay in that.
Yes.
And that's a great situation. Just a little bit, again, about website, phone numbers, hours that somebody can come in and stop in.
Yes. The campground hours, the office hours are 10 in the morning until 1 and 2 until 5, Monday through Friday. You can call the office at 740-653-2119 or check us out on the web at www.lancastercampground.com. Again, one final push for our Christmas walk, our 12th annual Christmas walk, which is next Friday and Saturday, the 7th and the 8th. If you come out for the Christmas walk, as I say, there's no charge. If you'd like a homemade meal, call 653-2119. Get a reservation for a home-cooked chicken dinner or a roast beef dinner. And you'll reserve the time, and we'll have a very nice setting in the older cafeteria that you can come in and enjoy the meal.
But you have to call ahead of time to get the meal.
You need to have a reservation. You need to have a reservation for the meal.
Well, Kermit, again, we appreciate you coming in and talking to us and giving us an update. And I'm sure the crew here will forgive you, the Tree of Life. Because if I remember right, I thought Fairfield Christian beat them this year. Is that?
I heard that. I heard that report. I did not verify it yet.
Something about chopping down the tree, I believe, is what I was hearing. So,
right.
Well,
that's better than the public schools. I'll guarantee you that.
Kermit, thank you very much for
Mike,
coming.
thank you.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate the time.
Thanks again for tuning in to this edition of Lancaster's Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. And remember, until we meet again, let's make a difference.
Weight loss, it's one of the many ways to fight osteoarthritis pain. For more information on managing pain, go to fightarthritispain.org.